If you know Minecraft's hardcore mode, there's a good chance you know Philza. He survived for 5 years, creating incredible and megalomaniacal constructions. In hardcore mode, Philza is undoubtedly one of the most notable players, like a foreign Vinicius 13. What was the longest time one of your worlds lasted in Minecraft? Comment below. Mine always lasted about 2 months with my schoolmates. But well, let's get to know the spectacular journey of this legend, as well as his tragic death to a baby zombie after 5 years of survival mode in the game's highest difficulty. Philza started his channel in December of 2006 when YouTube was just a wilderness. To give you an idea, the platform had just been bought by Google and was only 1 year old. He is much older than Venom Extreme, Monarch, Nerd Stuff and Company. Years later, in 2011, Minecraft officially launched. Its innovative style of nature and open world gave freedom to its players. Philza found the game and soon ventured into hardcore mode to challenge himself. In this mode, the gameplay is basically locked at the hardest difficulty, and if you die, the world is deleted forever. Imagining that at any moment you could lose all your progress certainly brings a certain adrenaline. Philza soon started his first hardcore Minecraft series, releasing the initial video on February 7th, 2012. He was a beginner, so obviously the start of his journey was very difficult. In his first attempt, he was quickly taken down by a skeleton and had his world deleted, but he didn't give up. In his second attempt, as in any gameplay, he started by cutting down some trees and building some wooden tools. This time, he was smarter and quickly made a sword to combat possible threats during the night and not die like a potato. While exploring a cave, he encountered monsters but survived using his sword, in addition to progressing to stone tools and gathering food. Finally, he gathered ores and built a simple shelter with a furnace and essential items. He continued mining and fighting in the depths of the cave during subsequent episodes. This allowed him to craft a complete set of iron armor. Nosfera sailed the world, discovering new biomes and finally completing his first official house. Philza managed to find a zombie spawner, an abandoned mine, and his first diamonds. With the sword in hand, he was able to experience the nether dimension for the first time, aware that one false step could end his journey forever. He crossed a sea of lava and fought against ghasts until he found a fortress. And traveling through a maze of corridors, he bravely managed to face blazes, and in the end, after collecting what he needed, he was able to return home. Everything was going well, and he managed to reach episode 30 successfully. Now he knew that his biggest challenge would be beyond another portal. He knew defeating the dragon required extensive preparation, for if he fell into the end, all his progress would have been futile. He dedicated himself to acquiring equipment for the final battle, even learning the art of potion making. He also scoured forests to build a wolf army. His armor received increasingly powerful enchantments. The time had finally arrived. Philza gathered all his supplies and said goodbye to his home, in case he couldn't return. In episode 70 of his series, he faced the final challenge. Face to face with the fortress portal, he jumped convinced that he could defeat the dragon. He spawned underground and dug a tunnel to reach the terrifying battle scene. The priority was to shoot and destroy the crystals that regenerated the Minecraft boss's life. The dragon flew towards Philza, but he was ready to battle it. After an intense battle, our hero defeated the near-death Ender Dragon with a final arrow, beating the game's boss. Philza completed Minecraft for the first time, joyfully continuing his victory by entering the portal and returning to the normal world. At this point in the story, he was like Spider-Man far from home and got completely lost. Without finding his phone, he just decided to end the video, and having already completed the game, Philza ended his hardcore series for now. In the following months, we were able to watch him create a new adventure with mods and play various challenge maps. Half a year later, he was inspired to revisit his hardcore world and resume his Minecraft map series. After rewatching his videos, Philza was able to go Spider-Man, Homecoming style, and find his shelter. His plan now was to level up and then face the new boss of that game update, the Wither. He found a skeleton spawner and managed to make a great farm. Next, over the following episodes, Philza mined and expanded his house, managing to create a large food plantation, sugarcane farm, and nether farm. The next project was the Nether Hub, connecting portals to distant places with his impressive underwater base. Philza was focused on that world, expanding his base more and more. Oh no, wait, a power outage at your house damaged your computer's hard drive? Philza tried in various ways to recover and restore his map, but it quickly became clear that this was the end of his hardcore series with over a year and 100 episodes. All of this lost on a burnt hard drive. Once again, Philza would have to start over, but this time, that click would change his life forever. He was born on an island in the savanna biome, initially thinking it wasn't the ideal place to start a series. Luckily, while exploring the region further, our hero quickly forged a full set of iron armor. He was satisfied and chose to continue, having obtained his first diamonds early on. Philza discovered a village and a desert temple, gathered resources and food, crafted an enchantment table, and built a nether portal. Luckily, his portal appeared right in a fortress. It was his best performance so far. He was incredibly lucky to get a wither skeleton head on his first defeat of one. Mathematically, you need to kill 100 wither skeletons to get 2 heads, so he was really lucky wherever he went in that world. Looting temples and getting more and more items, hardcore mode was already easy for Philza. While mining, he gathered many diamonds using the fortune enchantment, greatly increasing his profits. Crossing the ocean, he found the end fortress and was able to cross the interdimensional portal once again to defeat the dragon. From there, his project started to get bigger and bigger. He expanded his village with a baby zombie statue along with farms using mob spawners. He pierced the upper bedrock of the nether to make it easier for portals to be connected and for large distances to be traveled quickly. After much trial and error, he linked the portal from his base to the end fortress. In a well-crafted way, he was able to completely nerf the nether fortress to later make a farm. Using some water-breathing potions, Philza entered the ocean monument and swam through several rooms. He managed to find the guardian boss in the monument, and using the wall as protection, he defeated the enemy, finishing with an arrow. He survived, collected sea sponges, and began one of the most time-consuming jobs in a survival world. Philza started the process of drying the ocean monument using sand. After weeks of placing and removing sand, he had finally finished. From that moment, he began a beautiful environmentalization of that place, replacing the gravel floor with grass. It took about 5 months for him to finish everything. It was a very large project involving various different materials, glass walls, leaves, grass, and the interior space of the temple was dedicated to a gigantic guardian farm. However, in the middle of this process, Philza received sad news. An old friend of 23 years had passed away. He took some time away from the internet, but when he returned, he came back paying tribute to his friend and determined to do his best in the game. The result of the construction was 10 times better. It can't be described with words. That meant far more than a mere game. From absolute zero, Philza progressed and created one of the best Minecraft builds without even dying once in that hardcore world. The sky is the limit. The next project was the city in the sky. The start occurred in an ocean temple where he had to drain it again. A large sand cube was made over the monument to create an outline above water. After weeks of mining and placing sand, Philza was able to let all those blocks fall into the sea. Using cut blocks on sand, he built a perfect oceanic monument, an unprecedented strategy. The next step was to start the Sky City. Philza was born with a large platform in case he needed to jump while building. From there, he built a gigantic floating island where he knew exactly what was going to be done on it. In the next episode, he started stacking blocks to form large walls that would serve to encompass his great castle. He made a village with quartz buildings in the center with extra decorations outside the walls. Slowly, the construction was coming together. He finished the interior of the island, destroyed the platforms, and the Sky City was finally ready. He was already on day 3319 of Minecraft, which means about 550 to 1000 hours in real life. Philza's second hardcore map had officially surpassed the first in its 2-year duration, yet he had no intention of stopping. He started an Enderman farm in the end and set off in search of his next monument, the Chaos Cave. The idea was to create a massive cave containing all the hostile monsters in the game. It certainly wouldn't be an easy task. Philza started by exploding, days turned into months, and finally after a year and a half it was ready. His world was becoming amazing and timeless, lasting 4 years, using only a single life. By that time, he had been on the internet for 11 years and his Twitch channel had just hit 2,000 followers. However, everything was about to change. On a day like any other, Philza was working on a witch farm. He was positioning a beacon to speed up the processes. Due to their darkness, caves have a much higher incidence of mobs. Moreover, Philza wore an elytra rather than a chest plate, greatly lowering his defense. These elements would alter his life permanently. Everything was over. 5 years, in a single hardcore world, was destroyed by the hands of a baby zombie in less than 30 seconds. He was devastated. That was much more than the map. That was his way of expressing himself for years. That was something he could be proud of, but all that went down the drain. But then, something unexpected happened. His story began to be shared wildly. The man who lost the 5-year world, after 14 years of YouTube, Philza began to go viral. It seemed crazy. In 40 hours, his story had spread worldwide. The clip hit 1 million views. Several articles were written about him, and he even appeared on British television. Finally, his time to shine had come, and a new opportunity would arise, very different from hardcore mode. Minecraft Mondays brought together some of the biggest foreign creators from around the world to compete within the Square game. It was an event that lasted a total of 14 weeks, conceived by a popular YouTuber named Kingstar. The winner of the most minigames would claim the $10,000 prize. Philza was invited due to his popularity at the time. Philza and his partner secured second place in the first 7 weeks of the event. After that, they didn't perform as well, but the visibility of the event made Philza grow even more. From the 10th week on, everything would change. Philza would team up with an unstoppable player who unbalanced all the minigames. His new drawn partner was Technoblade himself, someone who would become one of his best friends. They were heavily targeted by the other pairs, but that didn't matter. The game of the moment was Ranker Games, where Philza and Technoblade together played frantically, eliminating the other opponents. Soon they already had full armor and even a diamond sword. Chasing the enemies, Technoblade defeated Scap and Philza defeated Fmall, and there was only one team left. Fortunately, they managed to catch one of the players off guard and quickly win the game. The two together occupied the first and second place. The competition remained fierce as Philza's former teammate had a great performance in the Find the Button game. With this, he threatened to take Technoblade's ranking. Fortunately, the 5th game was the Skywars minigame, and Technoblade is known for his mastery in Skywars, having dominated Hypixel for years with numerous videos and records in the game. Philza and Technoblade dominated and secured first place with a difference of over 150 points. They were halfway through the event and conditions seemed good. All that was needed would be to maintain the lead to then win $10,000. And with a solid performance in the Trinitra Tolwyn Run minigame and a victory in Spliff, we finally come to the last game, again Hunger Games. The duo's strategy in this battle royale was to immediately run to the edge of the map, acquiring as many resources as possible, and quickly, Technoblade already had full iron armor and some diamond stuff. The hunt began, and in the forest they successfully found and defeated an opponent, as well as in the center of the map, collecting even more supplies. Even roses have thorns. Amidst an intense battle, Philza was defeated. Technoblade survived with everything in his control. After eliminating 2 more competitors, he was challenged to a fistfight, and this, my friends, was a fight to the death where skill was the only factor that mattered. Techno won and together with their partner dominated the event by taking the top spots on the leaderboard. However, the most crucial aspect was the budding, genuine friendship. With Technoblade by his side, Philza would never lose to a baby zombie again. Next week, Philza's partner was Wilbur Shoot. And even though they didn't win the event, the contact with Wilbur led to our hero's next adventure. In late November 2019, Wilbur Shoot launched a new server. It was a scaled-down replica of Earth, including many mods and over 100 other content creators. We're talking about survival multiplayer Earth. The sun rises on a new adventure where the fresh oceans are eager to be navigated. Philza originally planned to claim Iceland on his own, but that wasn't a good idea. He quickly formed a team with Technoblade. In the South Pole, the two together would form the Antarctic Empire. And more than quickly, the two began to defend their lands, eliminating other players who were there. They even had to face air invasions. The duo would go to great lengths to safeguard their land. They persisted in claiming new territories, extending their domain as far as Oceania. They received several requests for alliances and truces, including one from the YouTuber Tommy himself. After several weeks of gearing up and getting stronger, a new event would change everything. The factions mod that was being used in survival multiplayer Earth allowed teams to claim territories based on the number of players. The 3-member Antarctic Empire dominated 3,000 land pieces. That wasn't much compared to the size of the map, but Technoblade had found a way to make the autofill go even beyond that number. Thus began the world domination. Using a plane, they traveled around the world claiming all the lands. Technoblade's plan worked and the chat went crazy. Only 3 people had conquered most of the entire world. Quickly, the other players were perplexed and came to question that. So, Will Borsucci gathered all the servers for a meeting. The Antarctic Empire would be judged for that. First, it was debated whether that was really a crime. But Technoblade argued that he only used lawful means. Some demanded their execution and others just fraternity. In the end, they let them return to their homes in the South Pole and a new rule was created prohibiting world domination. Weeks later, the Antarctic Empire continued building a vast highway spanning much of the map. However, Technoblade was alerted that they paid a player to kill him. Tommy was coming to eliminate our favorite pig. He was an Uber, but he was an Uber for mischief, you know, he was going there specifically to reap the pig. However, Technoblade was not intimidated and quickly confronted them without backing down. He defeated Tommy in a confrontation and sought revenge afterwards. Technoblade started killing Tommy over and over to ensure that it would never happen again, and obviously it didn't. Technoblade supremacy, that's why I'm a big fan of this pick. After much content, survival multiplayer Earth was ending. Philza had made new friends once again. With Will Borsucci and Tommy, the 4 would still form a great squad in the future. And this happened shortly after in an event called Minecraft Championship. The community loved the competitive format featuring multiple YouTubers and numerous live streams. Minecraft Championship brought the same level of combat as Minecraft Monday, but it was much more cheerful, with a more arcade-like setting that people loved even more. The first game was Skyblock, something very original and creative. Today's kids might not even know it, as it's a very old game mode, but have no doubt it's amazing. With limited resources, all teams competed to see who would evolve the fastest. Wilbur started pulling towards the middle, but didn't get far. Philza took his place, and they soon conquered valuable resources. And aside from Wilbur's early death, things were going well for our heroes team, considering they were successfully defeating several players. During an intense mid-map battle, Philza attempted an aerial attack but was caught by enemies. Technoblade and Tommy persevered, eliminating other players and securing first place in the game mode. The team started strong and continued to excel throughout the event. The last mini-game was marked because in my opinion it is one of the most exciting. The game of the moment was Dodgeball, where the goal was to hit all the players of the opposing team without being hit a single time. Through the player's gaze, the concentration and coolness for that type of game was noticeable. They moved as much as possible to confuse the opposing team until only 1 or 2 remained while the arena shrank. In the end, Philza and Technoblade, with surefire style capes in the propulsion, managed to win the first round and only needed to win 1 more.
And oh, I'm out.
And finally, our team achieved one of the best performances in the history of the Minecraft Championship, and in terms of other events, Philza had a mediocre performance, but continued to receive a lot of visibility and prominence, meeting new YouTubers and strengthening friendships. His next adventure would be even bigger, something that would make his channel grow more than losing a 5-year map in hardcore. Joining his friends, Wilbur, Technoblade, and Tommy, Philza was now on Dream Survival Multiplayer. Here on the channel, there is a complete playlist narrating the facts about this amazing role-playing game series that looks more like Game of Thrones of Minecraft. Then marathon here that you will not regret it because it is with Netflix quality. But well, Philza starred in an important scene of the plot. Until then, Wilbur Soot, the series' biggest villain, was planning to blow up the city of Elemenberg. Philza was a friend of Wilbur, but also had important alliances with the members of the city. Ultimately, at the edge of insanity, that lone button was pressed. The city was reduced to dust, To avoid suspicion and complications, Philza eliminated Wilbur in front of everyone, taking his last life in the server's role-play history, finally setting him free. And in the ashes of the city, Philza saw an opportunity to join the people of that place. Opportunity to rebuild what had once been a great story. And as much as Philza was sympathetic to those people, he found himself obliged to move and build his house on a new land. Tubbo had become the new president of the city and did not hesitate to exile Tommy, one of his best friends. If Tubbo was willing to exile Tommy, his best friend, to avoid conflicts with Dream, what could he possibly do in the future? So that's why Philza sought shelter with his old friend Technoblade. People hated the pig because he had contributed to the destruction of the city. That's why he spent lonely days at his snow base away from everyone, and it didn't take long for the government to come after Technoblade to hold him accountable for the damage caused to the city. The Butcher Army, was gathering to search for the whereabouts of that pig, and Philza was Technoblade's most obvious ally. That's why he was interrogated and his house was searched. After a long dialogue, a compass was found that pointed directly to the location of that pig. And with that, the Butcher Army would go after him. Philza quickly sent a message to Technoblade warning him about the risks he was running. And yet, walking there, he could witness his friend being taken from his peaceful life in the snow to a trial for his acts of war where they planned to eliminate him. Philza had no choice but to return home and avoid suffering the same fate. Technoblade was imprisoned, facing death by an anvil triggered by a lever. Before the trial concluded, a shocking event occurred. Bungie emerged from the sky and began to scatter everyone, handing out free slaps. The anvil was indeed released, but as you all know, Technoblade never dies. Philza used a totem of immortality from his inventory to escape. In the following days, while imprisoned, he began digging an escape route. Eventually he escaped, and with the help of Technoblade, they returned to the snow shelter. And for the sake of everyone, they planned to destroy Elemenberg forever. The city had hurt good people and refused to acknowledge their mistakes. With the help of Dream and Technoblade's complete arsenal, the destruction would be inevitable. Philza didn't hate Elemenberg, he hated what that place did to people. His old friends had become violent people, so the three of them together would destroy every last block of the city. After the destruction, Philza and Technoblade returned to their tranquil life in the snow. They hoped that people would learn their lesson and move on. In the following months, Fuse's great contribution among the survival multiplayer led to the biggest growth in his channel's history. In the end, he stayed true to his promise and created his third series in Minecraft's hardcore mode. His live streams now had hundreds of viewers, a significant increase from the previous 10 or 20. Excited to see where this would lead, Philza created a new world, starting a new journey. At this time, he was on the new version 1.14 with a completely different scenario than what he had started several years ago. After some mining, he used the ocean to gather resources and advance. Philza continued his progress, going to the Nether, finding a spawner and a cave. Quickly, he had already found the Fortress of the End. In just 10 days, he had defeated the dragon. His next goal was to reach the End City and obtain the Elytra. And then he was there, just one pearl away from his final goal.
Got glitched out of the fucking world, dude. Oh, come on.
Philza died to a bug, which was disappointing. He studied ways to survive it in creative mode. The final conclusion was that it was a rendering error, so reducing the loaded chunks could help. His live audience had witnessed everything, and within minutes, Fuse created his fourth hardcore world as a gesture of motivation and support. With the prior failure behind him, our hero's confidence surged. He began the fourth series just like the third, acquiring tools and exploring the ocean. In general, he found villages, desert temples, and another fortress in about 14 hours. The series started strong and continued rapidly. Fuse acquired superior gear and set up a base. Back at the end, he easily defeated the dragon. Once again, he faced what killed him before. Gazing into the portal's void, he tossed another pearl and it worked. On a dangerous journey through the End City, Philza managed to traverse the risky paths and the Elytra was finally his. And before going back home, he built a small XP farm in that dimension. Then he continued to explore his world and sought to build new farms. Philza looted the apple from the forest, slew more dragons, and acquired the best armor in the game. At this point, our hero announced his biggest project, Atlanta. A city completely submerged underwater in the end dimension, even containing custom biomes. He knew that it would take months, but time was not a problem. Finally, Philza announced that he was quitting his job to dedicate himself full-time to YouTube. Now, with thousands of viewers, his journey would be even more special. During a live stream, he met a woman who later became his fiancée, and they eventually got married. Philza was living a dream, and with more free time, he dedicated himself to his projects. Philza dedicated himself to Atlanta. Within 4 months, the most amazing project made entirely in survival was ready. He was unstoppable, already moving on. Fuse cleared nether from top bedrock to bottom. He then built a castle on a large platform of black concrete and glass in the void. A large crystal gave place to a withered skeleton farm, one of the hardest in Minecraft. By this time, Philza had already amassed over 3.4 million followers on Twitch. He had new ideas and even decided to create a kind of machinima in his world. In that map there were several gods, and each one ruled different land and had different powers. The worst was King Ender, who stole a nether fortress for himself and continued his misdeeds. In addition to dominating the nether dimension, he terrorized the seas of the normal world, destroying the ocean temple. And by chance, the god of the seas was sleeping at that time, and his habitat was completely in ruins. However, the story is far from over. It continues to be written to this day. It's been 2 years since Philza started surviving in his hardcore series. Time flies too much, and unless a new bug or carelessness happens, it seems like this map won't end anytime soon. In 14 years of YouTube, Philza has managed to create a community like no other. A community that helped him achieve his dreams and changed his life forever. Inspiring millions, our hero is dedicated to making the most of his life, pushing his limits. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the legend of Philza. This long video took a lot of work. If you've watched up to this point, please engage by liking, subscribing, and commenting. Philza is a legend. I am immensely grateful to all of you from now on and dedicate the credits of this video to EVON Minecraft Gaming, who makes content here on YouTube. Congrats to Philza. Let's pursue our dreams even if it takes 14 years. Big hug and take care.